Everybody knows this song in one form or another. This is Apache by the Incredible Bongo Band from 1973, and this song has been sampled in hundreds of other songs. It's a staple of hip-hop, but you probably knew that already. But here's what you probably don't know. This was all kind of an accident. Even if you know the legendary party, the cover song, or the DJ who wanted to try something new, what about the fact that without this insane movie, this album wouldn't exist? What about the pair of bongos that accidentally changed the world? This story has records, movies, a pioneering DJ, a party, murder, and bongos. Let's begin. The original album that started it all is Bongo Rock by the Incredible Bongo Band from 1973. And as I'm looking in the monitor, I'm seeing that because it's reflective, you can't see the album cover. There we go, got some ceiling light. There it is. Bongo Band, that's it. I'll just point to the album down here. This album is one of the seeds that would sprout into a new genre, growing into a massive family tree of songs that have sampled it. Out of this album came not only the song Apache by Sugarhill Gang, but multiple drum samples used by artists like Grandmaster Flash, MC Hammer, Nas, The Roots, LL Cool J, Busta Rhymes, Run DMC. I'm gonna stop naming names. It's a staple of hip-hop. One of the core grooves up there with James Brown's funky drummer. But this was all kind of an accident. The Incredible Bongo Band wasn't trying to change the world. They were barely even a real band. Let's talk about how this album came to be, how it became a classic hip-hop sample, and keeping the tree analogy going, who made this seed, who planted it, and how it's grown to be one of the biggest trees in the hip-hop forest. Let's start on August 11th, 1973. This is widely seen as the official birthday of hip-hop as we know it. On this original day, 50 years ago today, Cindy Campbell threw a party in the Bronx to raise money for school clothes, enlisting her brother Clive, aka DJ Kool Herc, to play some music. The party started in the rec room of their apartment complex, but after it got too crowded, they moved across the street to Cedar Park. At this party, Kool Herc performed his merry-go-round technique, looping drum breaks with two copies of the same record, or rather, just mixing drum breaks between different records, not looping, except maybe he didn't do the merry-go-round technique in 1973, and maybe he wasn't the first person to do this. Here's the thing, this was 50 years ago. This is basically mythology at this point. I don't mean that in the sense that it's not true, but in the Joseph Campbell sense of truer than fact. A myth, in the storytelling sense, does a better job of communicating the central idea of something than the pure facts can. In researching everything for this video, I've come across many conflicting accounts of what exactly happened at that party, what DJ technique was used, whether or not Herc was the first one to use it, conflicting stories from Herc himself. I don't have any way to independently verify these different accounts. That's why I say at this point, this party isn't just a historical event, it's mythological. The specific details of this party matter less than what it's come to represent. At this party, Herc isolated the drum breaks from songs, the most exciting part, mixing them together or looping them, but keeping that exciting part going. And most importantly, making music not by a traditional musical instrument that he was professionally trained on, but by using records and turntables. That's kind of like going, man, I'm hungry. You know what I want for dinner? A burger from In-N-Out, fries from McDonald's, a Frosty from Wendy's, and Chick-fil-A sauce to dip. Nothing but the best parts that each place has to offer. That's exactly what this August 11th party was in the mythological sense. DJ Kool Herc going, oh yeah, let me just hear the best parts from each of these records. That's what the people really want. And that idea is what hip-hop is built on, musically speaking, which evolves into breakdancing and the addition of the MC. This analogy breaks down because one New Year's Eve, I actually did this food sampling, just the best items from a bunch of different fast food places. The worst way to ring in the new year. I was sick for days. Felt like I was on the merry-go-round for a little too long, if you know what I mean. Anyway, while there are conflicting historical accounts of what happened specifically that night, and elements of hip-hop were around prior to this date, this party represents something. The emergence of a new genre of music, and crucially, it's being made by black people in the Bronx without traditional instruments or any formal musical training. And people love it. So much so, they have to move the party to the park across the street. I mean, if you gotta pick one specific day as the birth of hip-hop, this is it. The facts are a little more complicated, and at this point, impossible to know for sure. But the truth is, Kool Herc DJ'd a huge party, pioneering a new, exciting way to make music. The term hip-hop wouldn't even be invented until years later, but as far as early hip-hop history goes, this August 11th party has the most weight to it. But digging through the facts of this party, one thing has consistently come up. One of the first records, if not the first, that Herc played during his merry-go-round was this. The angle is, okay, I gotta, this. It was this. I gotta do this. I gotta get the correct, you get it. Bongo band. All right. When I say hip, you say hop. Hip. Sorry, for this bit to work, I actually need you to say it out loud on your end. Trust me. When I say hip, you say hop. Hip, hip. When I say hip hop, you say bongos. Hip hop. Hip hop. Come on, you gotta help me out here. When you think of hip hop, you might not necessarily immediately think of bongos, but this is one of the most important records in hip hop history, and by extension, all music history. But the story of this record involves an insane movie, world-changing bongos, and murder. We're gonna take a hard left, but stay with me. When this ties together at the end, it'll all be worth it. So, in 1972, a year before this party with Kool Herc, there was this movie called The Thing with Two Heads. Let's experience this together. Okay, first off, this movie poster. Wow. Let's read this together. They transplanted a white bigot's head onto a Soul Brother's body. The doctor blew it. The most fantastic medical experiment of the age. And now with the fights, the fuzz, the chicks and the choppers. Man, they're really in deep trouble. Absolutely insane premise for this movie, but my favorite part is look at what the movie looks like. What is happening? They're just riding around on a motorcycle like this. I love the special effects in this. It's either one guy with an obviously fake head attached, or for the close-up, they're just snuggling up. Look at this. This man is in his suit jacket. He's just snuggled up right there. Actually, you know what? You could remake this today. Tracy Morgan and Dean Winters. This guy. This might work. This might be the movie that could heal America. Sorry, no, I can't get past this. Never mind. Anyway, a man named Michael Viner was enlisted to provide music for two of the chase scenes. I actually skimmed the whole movie looking for this chase scene, and just a heads up, like 75% of the movie is chase scenes. It's basically a low-budget, super weird Fast and the Furious. Another reason why a remake might work. Anyway, Michael Viner provides two songs, Bongo Rock and Bongolia, with a group he put together and called Michael Viner's Incredible Bongo Band. But how can you call yourself an incredible bongo band without an incredible bongoist? Bongoist? Bongist? Nah, that's like a pothead. Hang on, let me go. Bongosero. How can you call yourself an incredible bongo band without an incredible bongosero? And in this case, that was King Errison. Errison is a Bahamian musician who's played on many Motown records, including The Temptations, The Four Tops, Jackson 5, and The Supremes. Jim Gordon was on drums. No, not Commissioner Gordon from Batman, and no, not Commissioner Gordon, the man who mixed The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. This Jim Gordon was a session drummer in the late 60s and 70s, and he played drums on this record. By all accounts, the recording session for the Incredible Bongo Band were unremarkable. They're all session guys. Show up, play the song, get paid, and go home. In fact, Errison declined the 1% royalty that Michael Viner offered him. He just wanted to get paid. After these songs were made for this insane movie, they were released as 7-inch singles and did pretty well, so Michael Viner decided to do a full LP release. The band recorded a few more songs and released the 1973 album Bongo Rock. Gotta get my angle right, I did it, yes! This album didn't sell well at all, but they tried again with the album The Return of the Incredible Bongo Band, and after this album sold even worse, everyone went back to their other projects. Our incredible bongosero, King Errison, went on tour with Neil Diamond. Sweet Caroline! But this first album would change the world. Bongo Rock was one of the songs DJ Kool Herc would use in his merry-go-round technique, which is from this album, but was originally recorded for a chase scene in The Thing with Two Heads. And get this, it's actually a cover. The original is by Preston Epps from 1959. The song Apache, also a favorite of Herc's, this song was sampled for the Sugarhill Gang's Apache. It's been sampled, let's see, WhoSampled.com lists 757 times. But this was also a cover song. The original version of Apache is from 1960 by a band called The Shadows. This feels like it's from a Western movie. Nobody wants to dance to this. This was covered by other bands as well, like The Ventures. This feels much more like surf rock, like something Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters would play. If you get that reference, shout it out in the comments. But because of this version of the song, Apache became a staple song of surf rock bands. But there are faint bongos in the mix there. And guess who's playing those? King Errison, the same magic hands that would provide the bongos on the Incredible Bongo Band version. This groove, though, starting with just Jim Gordon's drums and King Errison's bongos, the bongo master. Even though this album didn't initially sell well and came out of an insane movie that I just may start writing a script for the remake of, Herc heard this and knew it would make people want to dance. That's why, against all odds, this record is a seed that would grow into a huge tree in the forest of hip-hop. There are many other trees, many other places to go, but one of the biggest, one of the first, and one of the most important trees stems from this seed right here. All because Michael Viner, Jim Gordon, and King Errison recorded some bongo covers for a chase scene in a really awful movie. Let me put this another way. That would be like if a random group of session musicians recorded a didgeridoo cover of Uptown Funk for the 2019 Cats movie, and that version became one of the biggest samples in history, helping spawn a brand new genre of music. Because, I mean, that groove is undeniable. That sweet didgeridoo groove. This is insane! Oh, right. You might remember I said there was murder involved in this story. That one's actually less exciting. The drummer, Jim Gordon, had undiagnosed schizophrenia and was later convicted of murder. Today is August 11th, 2023, 50 years to the day since DJ Kool Herc's mythological party. Since then, hip-hop has grown, changed, evolved, and taken over the world. 50 years of hip-hop, 50 years of this album that would accidentally go on to be one of the biggest trees in the hip-hop forest. Another early hip-hop pioneer was Grandmaster Flash, who took Herc's innovations even further. You may know Flash from the hit song The Message, except that song doesn't have any samples, and Flash wasn't actually involved in the recording. Right, I'm out of time, sorry. For that story, you gotta click here.